Yes, let's begin the pending topic 710. If this standard is complete and 700 pending topics complete, this chapter will be over, which is equal to 15 to 20 marks weightage, minimum 15 marks. This chapter weightages. Already we completed ethics and terms of engagement, which is close to 15 marks. Nature, objective and scope of audit, which is close to 10 marks. So close to 40 marks syllabus we complete. Okay, with this particular standard. 710 was asked in the recent Jan 25 exam for 5 marks or 4 marks question is there on 710. Okay, so 710, what is this 710 standard is about? 710 standard, one is that is comparative information. One is corresponding figures and comparative financial statements. Comparative information, one is corresponding figures and comparative financial statements. You know, in India, we follow corresponding figures approach. In India, we follow corresponding figures approach. We do not have comparative financial statements approach. So, by the way, whether it is corresponding figures or whether it is comparative financial statements, they both are called as, yes, comparative information. We call them as what? Comparative information. What is a comparative information? What is a comparative information? Meaning of comparative information, you see. Amounts and disclosures of one or more prior periods which are included in the financial statements as per financial reporting framework. Amounts, disclosures of one or more prior periods included in the financial statements as per applicable financial reporting framework. You see schedule 3 Tata Motors financials, for example, you see they are giving you balance sheet. For example, they are giving you balance sheet, right? They are not only giving current year, they are also giving prior period, 1 year. Prior period only 1 year, not one or more, only 1 year prior period data they are giving. This is as per schedule 3 requirement, correct? Now, this information is called as what? Comparative information. See, this information is meaningless if this information is not there. Yes, we give information for comparison purpose, correct or not? So comparison means what? What is the position in the last year of the same item and what is the position of the asset in this current year? So for that comparison sake only we are giving this. If you open last year balance sheet of Tata Motors, last year current year figure, current year last year figure will match. In the current year balance sheet last year figure will match with last year balance sheet current year figure. Able to understand? They both will match. Exactly, they will match. Now, why we give comparative? Very simple purpose, to have a comparison on what exactly changed compared to last year, this year, what changes happened. So to give a perspective on what changes happened in the balance sheet, what changes happened in the P&L, getting it. So comparative information is given. Now, this comparative information is given in two approaches. This comparative information will be having two approaches. We can give comparative information in two approaches. One, corresponding figures approach. Two, comparative financial statements approach. One is corresponding figures approach. Two, comparative financial statements approach. Corresponding figures means what? In India, as I already told you, we follow which approach? Corresponding figures approach. What is this approach means? Like Tata Motors auditors, no, they gave opinion, right? The auditors gave opinion, right? On this balance sheet also. Did they give opinion on only current year figure or both the year figures? Current year figures. The auditors of current year, they gave an audit report which contains opinion dealing with current year. For example, show the audit, see the audit report. See the audit report. Only current year they will refer. So big key audit matter. You see, they are only talking about 31st March 2024. Where is 23? Auditor's opinion is referring only to current period but not referring to corresponding information. Sorry, but not referring to comparative information. That information might be corresponding figure, that information might be presented with a comparative financial statements approach, whatever it is, but basically it's a comparative information. In a corresponding figures approach, comparative information is not referred by auditor's opinion. Understood? We in India follow corresponding figures approach for general purpose financial statements. comparative financial statements approach is not followed in India. Are you getting it? This is one standard where many will read this, many will read this standard. They confuse always. Are corresponding comparative reporting there different, reporting here is different. What exactly the difference between these two? Everybody reads that, but they don't understand this basic fact. Comparative financial statements is a different approach. Corresponding figures is a different approach. Comparative financial statements approach is not followed in India. Both are comparative information only. Both are related to prior period data only. But in a corresponding figures approach, we give opinion only on current year figures. In a comparative financial statements approach, we give opinion on all the periods. In a comparative financial statements approach, we give opinion on all the periods mentioned in the financial statements. Able to understand? Sometimes companies will recruit you as an audit of a special engagement. They prepared financial statements of last 3 years, presented in a single balance sheet. Three amount columns were given. Sir, can you give opinion on all the 3 years? That's a special purpose financial statements audit. That's a special purpose financial statements audit. Now you were specifically recruited for comparative financial statements audit. There your opinion is giving, you're giving opinion on current year, last year, that last year. Since your opinion covers all the periods mentioned in the financial statement, that approach is called as comparative financial statements approach. Generally, comparative financial statements approach we find only in special purpose financial statements audit. We don't find in general purpose financial statements audit. Are you getting it? This point, comparative financial statements is not applicable to India. This point is given in ICA book, not in study material, pronouncement book. Comparative financial statements, above they use one small number, okay, footnote. Below in the footnote they mention this point. Only those who read pronouncement and learn the subject, where they even consider that footnote also when they are reading, only they can understand this standard. Others cannot understand. 99% nobody will understand, because when I'm reading this particular standard, I'm learning, almost I spent more than 2-3 hours. I am spending 2 hours, means it's very big, okay, because I generally crack codes very easily. I thought 10 to 15 minutes is what it takes. More than 2 hours, my mind is not working. Array, comparative financials, all this, where I say book, I open pronouncement, I open, I'm not getting it at all. And I saw, sometimes when I get a doubt also, we see videos on YouTube. So I saw some US framework videos. They are also not explaining. They have ISA 710 standard is there. That there also is not their explanation. Everybody is saying corresponding like this you should do, comparative you should do like this. Array, my doubt is where it is used. Then I open once again ISA book. Let me see. Let me be careful and see. Okay, footnote is given, one number. Array, I missed it last time when I'm reading. Oh my God, thank God. Now I understood. Okay, corresponding figure. Because the standard says in corresponding figures you will give opinion on current period only. Comparative you will give opinion on all the periods. My question is what, when I'm reading the standard, in which engagement we will give opinion on all the periods in India, especially? We give opinion only on current period. Tata Motors, every report you see, we give opinion only on current periods. We never give opinion on last period. Then why the standard is specifically talking about comparative financial statements also? This is general standard which talks about all scenarios. But in India, what is applicable? Corresponding figures is applicable. Comparative financial statements is also applicable when special purpose engagements, generally. Are you getting it? All of you. Now look at the standard. So, what is the nature of comparative information? 3 marks question or 4 marks question. What is the nature of comparative information? How comparative information we present? It depends upon applicable financial reporting framework. If applicable framework says auditor shall give opinion on last year figures also, we give opinion on last year figures. If applicable framework says last year figures, no need to give opinion, then we follow that approach accordingly. Yes or no? The comparative information nature is decided by applicable financial reporting framework, nothing but applicable law or regulation. Understood? Now, the nature of comparative information depends on applicable framework. There are 2 approaches to auditors reporting responsibilities on comparative information. What are the approaches? Corresponding figures, comparative financial statements. The approach to be followed is often specified by law or regulation, or maybe the client will instruct us. Terms of engagement. Essential difference is what, what is the difference? In corresponding figures, opinion refers only to current period, whereas in comparative financial statements approach, opinion refers to each period presented in financial statements. Able to understand? each period presented in financial statements, in a comparative financials in India or across the world, there is no general purpose framework which requires this. All general purpose frameworks across the world, the auditors only refer to current period. For example, Apple report, you see current period only they talk in the opinion. UK, some group companies were there. Shell is there. Shell UK, Shell companies there. There the auditors report only to current period. Danish, there is a company called Denmark. In Denmark, there is a company called some TDC group. There is a company called TDC. Okay, that's a group company, big company. So they refer only to current period. Everywhere current period. I never find an audit report where multiple periods are referred in audit. Multiple periods are referred by auditor. Might be auditors have given opinion on multiple periods, but that is not in the public domain, which means it's a special purpose financial statements which is private. Yes or no? No. Now, what is the objective of the standard? Ultimately, in India also, every company will give comparative information using corresponding figures approach, right? Auditor has to obtain sufficient appropriate evidence that comparative information is presented in accordance with applicable financial reporting framework. You should get an evidence that comparative information, is it presented correctly? Just check out that. You don't have to give opinion. You see, they're not saying you have to give opinion. You have to get an evidence that comparative information is presented as per the framework or not. Verify. That's it. And report in line with reporting responsibility. Below we have discussed something like reporting responsibilities, like audit reporting for corresponding figures. Here we have given F point. So report accordingly. Are you getting it? All of you? No. So generally, okay, fine. Reporting part will come back to later. What I need to do for comparative information? How will I get evidence? How will I get evidence on comparative information? What is the audit procedures for comparative information? Remember, if the question is write about nature of comparative information, you should write this answer. What is the audit procedure for comparative information means what auditor has to do regarding comparative information? What you need to do? Verify whether financial statements include comparative information and see whether it is appropriately classified, and ensure comparative information matches, agrees to prior period amounts and disclosures. How do I check this? Current year, last year figures, I will compare with last year, current year figures. Yes or no? Current balance sheet, second column, I will compare with last year balance sheet, first amount column. That's it. Whether the comparative information presented in the current year agrees to prior period amounts and disclosures. And not only this, you should also verify consistency of accounting policies and ensure changes are properly accounted and disclosed. Actually, no, this is nothing but opening balance verification. This is nothing but opening balance verification. For that, we have a standard called 510 again. This standard is linked with 510 also actually. But once I am discussing 510, I will connect to the standard once again. What 510 standard says, you know? The auditor shall obtain sufficient appropriate evidence. The auditor shall obtain sufficient appropriate evidence whether opening balances contains material misstatement. Whereas here, whether comparative information contains material misstatement, not that. Whether comparative information is presented and disclosed as per framework, that is what the responsibility. The auditor's objective is whether comparative information is given as per the framework. Whatever the approach the company is applicable, are they given? If corresponding figures contain misstatements, SA 510 standard also apply. SA 510 standard also apply. That is why scope you see. 710 addresses. 710 addresses auditor's responsibilities regarding comparative information in an audit. If prior period financials are audited by some other auditor or they were not audited, nothing but opening balances you were uncertain, requirements of 510 also apply. We'll discuss in 510 once again. That time I will connect you back to 720. Sorry, yeah, 710. Clear all of you? Next. You see, the audit subject nature, your knowledge widens like anything. You understand frameworks, international frameworks, you know how accounting works and how all these different frameworks, yes or no? So this widens your knowledge base like anything. Generally, any subject, like even if it is tax or even if it is law, even if it is accounting, is again good. Accounting, no doubt, that's wonderful. These all papers, law, tax, you are just learning information. It's just taking information, that's it. But the analytical part won't be there much in that. It is just an information part. Whereas audit is one where it is mostly analytical part. You get to know so much of information in audit. Understood? So now first one is what auditor has to do? Verify the required information. Verify whether the financial statements include required comparative information and is appropriately classified, and verify whether the comparative information is agreeing with prior period, and verify consistency of accounting policies and changes are properly disclosed. Whether accounting policies are consistent or not, check out. Sir, changes are there. Whether changes are appropriately accounted and disclosed or not, check out. Next, suppose if a material misstatement, suppose if a material misstatement in comparative information is identified, suppose in opening balance mistake is identified, perform additional procedures to obtain evidence to determine MMS in the current period. Obviously, tell me if opening balance contains mistake, that will have an impact on the current period also. Check that. If prior period financial statements are audited by same auditor and you found a mistake in the opening balances, follow SAF 560 requirement. Follow SAF 560 requirement. What is 560 requirement? We'll discuss in the upcoming chapters. There I will connect you this. Okay. As per 580, obtain a representation for all periods referred in auditor's opinion. Generally, we refer only to current period in case of corresponding figures. We refer all the periods in case of comparative financial statements. So get a representation that management is acknowledging that the financial statements are presenting true and fair view. Specifically get a representation regarding any prior period item disclosed. See, this is very important. MCQ. The auditor has to obtain a general written representation for the amounts presented in the financial statements towards comparative information. 2. The auditor shall obtain general representation as well as specific representation related to prior period item. Option 2 is correct. Are you getting it? If at all in the financial statements some prior period item is disclosed, get a specific representation that all the prior period items were not identified and reported like this. No prior period item is omitted. Specifically, you should ask a declaration for prior period item exclusively. Also get a general representation that comparative information. Also get a representation for all the periods referred to in audit opinion. Sir, what do you mean by representation for all the periods? Okay, what do you mean by representation? We will discuss in depth in 580. There are 3 to 4 types of representations. Representations for management responsibilities, representation about specific assertion, representation required by standard, representation otherwise required by the auditor. There are 4 types of representations broadly. Getting it? So we will discuss that in 580 standard. Understood, all of you? Next. So once again, what is the audit procedure for comparative? Verify the required comparative information is appropriately classified and agree to prior period. Consistency of accounting policies and changes are appropriately accounted. You see again, like fast track mode, I will just verify the required comparative information is appropriately classified and agree to prior period. Verify consistency of accounting policies and changes are properly accounted. Material misstatement in comparative information. Determine MMS in current period. Prior period by same auditor. Then 560 requirement apply. Obtain written representation for all periods referred in financial statements. Obtain a specific representation regarding any prior period item disclosed in the current period P&L account. Easy or not? But never read in a shortcut format. Always read full. Okay? It won't take much time. No time difference. You're not going to save anything, okay, by saving that time. Okay? That is only proper. Shortcut is the hardest route to success. Right process is the easiest route to success. That's it. Next. Audit procedures. Audit reporting for corresponding figures. What is the audit reporting? Now we understood what to do if comparative information is there. Very simple. If comparative information is there, is it properly classified? Matching with the last year? Yes or no? And is there any MMS? If so, 560 procedure I will apply. Then 580 representation I will get. Prior period item I will get a representation. Over. You repeat two more times like this, you will remember. Again, you will remember only for a week maximum. Later you will forget. That's why we do one more time revision. 3 revisions you have to do. Effective revision shall be 3, if possible. Again, don't count on the number alone. Quality is most important. Quality of revision is most important. Intensity of revision is most important. So 3 plus 1 day before exam, that will be 4. 99% you will reproduce. If every day you test, am I remembering, you will never remember. Whatever happened till now, no, if you just think of it, oh, I forgot everything, nature, object, one scope, I read something, I forgot already. If you try to reproduce everything, you will never reproduce. I will never sit and do. Suppose if you ask me a question, I will tell you. But if you ask me to tell me everything that we discussed from day one, just explain me whatever I remember, I may not tell. But if you ask me specifically a question, 99% I can give you 80% output. 80%, 70 to 80% output I can give. After a month, if you ask me, I will give 30 to 40% output. Are you getting it? That 30 to 40% anytime I can give. But if you want 90% accuracy in reproduction, give me 2 days time. That's it. I will give 90%. That is same for everybody, not just me. I am openly admitting that. No faculty will admit that I don't remember subject. Yes or no? I'm admitting openly I don't remember. Getting it? But if you ask me, Caro, 21 classes I can reproduce right now. I can reproduce tomorrow, day after tomorrow, that day after tomorrow also, that next day also. But maybe after 10 days, if you ask, 70% accuracy I can give. Maybe after 1.5 months, 2 months, if you ask, 50% pakka accuracy I'll give. Getting it? But if you ask 1 year later also, maybe 30 to 40%, 50% I can give accuracy. But you want 100% accuracy, give me 1 hour time. On Caro, I will give you 100% accuracy. This formula is same for everybody. Auditing is not small subject to remember everything. Okay, it's not small. Quantum is huge. Like I tell at the day one itself not to maintain running notes. I think I told you. Don't write notes at all. Only focus on listening. Writing will not give you any this thing. Okay, because you to give notes in auditing class, some 1 or 2 students ask me, very rare they ask me, sir, why don't you dictate notes? If I dictate 500 hours, I need. If I dictate notes in the class, I need 500 hours. So much syllabus is there. Where is the time for dictating? How I can find time? Because I need to cover entire syllabus, right? If you are okay with syllabus, skip, no problem. I can give notes. Full time I can give notes. Happy, I can relax also. My throat also will be very safe. Giving notes is very safe job, Giving notes in the class is a very safe for me because I don't have to stress out much. Hardly how much you will write. 40 lines, 1.5 hour gone. 40 lines by the time I dictate and you write the notes, 40 lines, 1.5 hour gone. That 40 lines only one standard will be there. Not even, sorry, one standard. Only 1/4 of the standard will be covered. That is the problem we have behind the notes. Understood why I don't give notes? Because I want to cover 100% syllabus. And I showed you questions also how they will ask. In every attempt you show me, I will tell you whatever questions I tell in class only will come. Because I tell 90% of the questions. Because, no, literally speaking, you get everything. Anything and everything will be asked. Okay. Next. So what is the reporting for corresponding figures? What is the reporting for corresponding figures? Very simple. Corresponding figures, what is the report? Auditor's report shall not. Auditor's opinion on corresponding figures shall not refer corresponding figures except in the following cases. You see, in one of the exam they asked this. Auditor's report on corresponding figures shall not refer to corresponding figures except in few circumstances. Or they may ask you a question, under what circumstances auditor's opinion or auditor's report shall discuss about corresponding figures also, under what circumstance? For example, in the recent January, this is the question I think which is asked. The Jan exam, this is the question which is asked, because 710 is standard which everybody leave. Almost every student leave this standard, they don't study this standard at all. This one, no, not this one. That's a beautiful paper of mine, no. Where is that question? Jan 25. Okay, wait. Yeah. Yes, in this question I will show you. This is Jan 25 paper. Yes. 5 marks question, 710 standard. 5 marks question, 710 standard. Okay, you see this. Oval Enterprises Limited is under legal obligation to represent its current year financials along with previous year financials. Okay. Current associates, chartered accountants has been appointed as statutory auditor for the year. Current notice that last year financial statements contains adverse opinion for the financial statements as a whole due to a misstatement in evaluation and disclosure of debtors. Guide CA Current for his duty regarding treatment and addressing the issue while drafting his audit report. Fantastic question. What disclosure he is required to make in this regard? You know what question they are asking actually? Just now I started. No. This question is there, right? Material misstatement in prior period. This point they are asking. 5 marks question. What question they are asking? This point. Array, in every exam it is like this only. Don't think Jan exam is special. In every exam it is like this only. But in January exam, number of C category questions are 40%. Generally it is 25%. This time it is just 40%. That's the only difference. Okay, not much difference. Remaining, and by the way, these questions are not C category, guys. By the way, this is very important because once in every 3 attempts they will ask this. This is not a C category. This is A category only. Okay, now, so material misstatements in prior period. Again, don't ask me, sir, what are A category questions? Please, kindly come out of that culture. It will not work. If you pass only out of luck, which is 5% probability. You want to go to exam with 5% probability or 95% probability, your choice. Material misstatement in prior period. Now, see, by the way, from the beginning I will once again cover this. Totally 4 circumstances. See, generally, if it is corresponding figures approach, auditor's opinion, or auditor's report, generally do not talk anything about corresponding figures, except in the following 4 circumstances. One circumstance is, in prior period, no modified opinion is there, that is still unresolved in current year. Material misstatement is there in a prior period. Material misstatement is there in the prior period, or prior period financials were not audited, or prior period financials were audited by predecessor auditor, means another auditor have audited prior period. Now in this question, no, he is appointed as an auditor for the year. Oh, he is appointed only for the current year. He noticed that last year financials contain adverse opinion. Okay, so prior period financials were audited by predecessor auditor, which means not even the question what I thought. This question is what they asked. D point is what they asked. Getting it? Not even the B point. It's not B point, sorry. It's D point, because in the question they clearly gave the audit. You were appointed as an auditor for the year, means current year you are the auditor, means last year you are not the. Amma, they see, they didn't mention predecessor auditor discussion. They indirectly mentioned you are appointed as an auditor in the current year, but they didn't mention clearly that predecessor auditor was different. You need to figure out from the question that previously auditor was different, yes or no? This one they asked, D point. See how tough it is. Only if you understand these points accurately you can write the answer. 5 marks. You see the matter size? So simple, 5 marks. They are asking you what are the disclosures. 3 disclosures you should give, that's it. You just have to give 3 disclosures. In auditing, the answers are simplest. Okay, but giving that answer is the problem. Next. Fine. Look at this answer carefully. The auditor's opinion on corresponding figures shall not refer to corresponding figures except in the following cases. From last I will come. Prior period, suppose sir, prior period financials are audited by another auditor. For example, if prior period financials were audited by another auditor, if prior period financials were audited by predecessor auditor means what? Previously some other auditor is there from some other firm, and the auditor refers to predecessor auditor. The auditors refers to predecessor's report. You need to refer that about that report. What you should refer? In other matter paragraph. You should refer in other matter paragraph stating financials were audited by predecessor auditor. Second disclosure, what opinion he gave. Last year in that exam, no, current. Last year predecessor auditor gave adverse opinion on debtors. And reasons. Last year audit report will be there, no? In the basis for adverse opinion section, reason will be there. Copy paste it. State the date, state the date of predecessor auditor's report. On which date he gave the audit report. Mention these 3. Mention these 3. Now you read this question, you will understand once again. CA Current noticed that last year financial statements contain adverse opinion as a whole due to misstatement in debtors. Guide CA Current his duty regarding treatment and addressing this issue in the drafting of the audit report in the current period. What disclosures is required to make? By the way, current and associates have been appointed as statutory auditor for the year. Means they are the current auditor. Last year they were predecessor auditor. Predecessor auditor has given a modified opinion. Financials of previous year were audited by a different auditor. So how I will tell in the answer? So I will put a heading 710 comparative information, corresponding figures, comparative financial statements. Point number 1, as per SA 710, if prior period financial statements were audited by predecessor auditor, then the current year auditor shall give opinion on the current year audit report and include predecessor auditors report information. Point number 1, fact that previous year financials were audited by predecessor auditor. Point number 2, predecessor auditor are given an adverse opinion due to material misstatements in debtors. Point number 3, date of the predecessor auditor's report. So in the given case, current and associates were appointed as an auditor for the current period, which indicates that predecessor auditor is a different. The current associates, while drafting the audit report, has to consider the above disclosure requirements. Over. 5 out of 5. Able to understand? 3 marks for the 3 points. Analysis and conclusion, 2 marks. Confident? That's it. Suppose prior period financials are not audited. Prior period financials were not audited. Now you are giving audit opinion on the current year figures. You are giving audit opinion on the current year figures. Opening balances were not audited. What you should do in the current year audit report? If prior period financials were not audited, state the same in the other matter paragraph that corresponding figures are unaudited. You mentioned unaudited. Does it mean, are you exempted to verify accuracy of opening balances? This statement does not reduce the responsibility to obtain sufficient appropriate evidence regarding opening balances. You still have to get an evidence on opening balances, whether they are free from MMS. See, generally, last year auditor said everything is true and fair. I also believe it. Last year opening balances, they're nothing but closing balances of last year. And last year the auditor gave an opinion that financial statements are true and fair. Evidence is there. Financials are true and fair. That itself is evidence for me that they are true and fair. But last year they were not audited. Now how do I know opening balances are true and fair? You should get evidence on that. How should we get? We will discuss in 510. Are you clear? Third one. Suppose there is a material misstatement in prior period. Okay? Who audited, either me or predecessor, keep it aside. But there is a material misstatement in prior period. And you know, last year what opinion they issued? Unmodified opinion is issued. But actually material misstatement is there. Sir, how come, sir? Actually mistake is discovered in this year. But that mistake happened in last year. Generally this is called as, in accounting there is a term. Exactly, prior period item. What is it? Prior period item. Getting it? If a material misstatement exists, in prior period financial statements on which modified opinion is issued. Sorry. Yeah, I'm just testing you. Okay. Unmodified opinion is issued. Okay. Verify if the misstatement was corrected in the current year financials as per current year framework. Nothing but, is it corrected as a prior period? I want to check out. Corrected. If not corrected, express a qualified opinion or adverse opinion on the current period financial statements. In exam they will ask you. What they will ask you? Suppose if prior period financial statements are not audited, what is the disclosure requirement? You should write C point. Okay. Suppose in exam they asked you, there is a material misstatement in the prior period financial statements. What is the responsibility of the auditor under 710? Verify whether that prior period material misstatement is rectified in the current period as per applicable framework. If not rectified, give a qualified opinion or adverse opinion, because current year financial statements are materially misstated to that extent. Yes or no? Suppose if prior period report include a qualified disclaimer, adverse opinion, and matter remained unresolved, getting it? You should modify current period opinion. Suppose last year financial statements contain a material misstatement, and the reason why it was materially misstated, the reason is still existing in current year. It is not same, no resolved. Suppose if it is resolved, no. And last year if it is audited by some other auditor, no. You should write like this. You should give this drafting. Fine. Comparison I'll do it later. First let us understand individual components, then we'll do comparisons. Okay. So if prior period financial statements, if prior period report include a qualified disclaimer adverse and the matter why we gave qualified adverse disclaimer remains unresolved, the auditor shall also qualify current year, provided it is material in current period also. Current auditor feel that is material. See, last year I only have audited, or last year somebody have audited. There is a material mistake in the last year. In the current year also same mistake carry forwarded, and in current year also it is material. Tell me, materiality level will differ from year to year also. Last year what is important may not be important this year because company size increased. Yes or no? Now, if it is material in current period also, refer to both the current period figure and corresponding figure in which para? Basis for modified opinion, qualified, adverse, disclaimer, whatever, if the unresolved matter materially affects current period. Sir, last year only it was material, sir. It was not resolved. I agree. Prior period financials contain material misstatement for which we gave a modified opinion last time. We or somebody else gave a modified opinion and the matter is unresolved, sir. But in the current year it is not material. In current year it is not material. Explain that current period opinion is modified due to unresolved matter effect on the comparability purpose. Actually on current period I am not modifying, but I will give modified opinion here also. Why am I modifying? Is it because current year item misstated? No. Comparability is not correct because current year it is not material. Current year is everything true and fair. Last year it is material mistake is there. You can't compare these two. For that reason I modify the current period. Okay, I will mention that the current period financial statements are not affected by last year. However, for comparability, the corresponding figures are not free from material misstatement. Like that we will modify. You clear? All of you? Now the comparison, let us start. Now let's start comparison. You know, one time how the question was asked, you know, generally, if a corresponding figures approach is followed, auditor's opinion in the audit report shall not refer to corresponding figures except in few circumstances. What are the circumstances? What are the circumstances? You should write like this. If the prior period report include qualified opinion and the matter remained unresolved, then auditor shall also modify current period. Up to this only you should write. Sub points you need not write. Second, if a material misstatement exists in prior period on which unmodified opinion is issued. Third point, prior period financial statements are not audited. Fourth point, prior period financials were audited by predecessor auditor. In these four circumstances, we give which opinion? We refer about corresponding figures in the current year auditor's report. For example, the last year I am the auditor. Last year there is no material misstatement. I also gave unqualified opinion. Four situations it won't come. Then do I have to talk about the last year in the current year audit report? No need. When I should talk about last year, sir, last year audit report contains a modified opinion. Okay. What reason we gave modification? No, that reason is still unresolved in the current year. That time what I should do? Material in current period. Then I should give modified opinion on the current period figures, and in basis for modified opinion I will mention the reason that in current period it is not material, sir, but still I will modify. Why am I modifying? Is it because current period is wrong? No. Comparability is not possible. Explain that current period opinion is modified due to unresolved matter impact on comparability of current with prior period figures. Sir, for example, last year no mistake is there, but last year we gave unmodified opinion. What we gave? Unmodified. And this year that mistake is as it is there. See, last year we gave unmodified opinion, but actually material mistake is there. What we need to do? Rectify it as a prior period item. If rectified, no problem. If not rectified, we should express now qualified or adverse. Suppose last year modified opinion is there. Last year already auditor has modified opinion. Why should you do it? You just have to check whether that is resolved in current year. If not resolved, give on the current period also modified opinion. Yes or no? You see, both A and B more or less saying the same. Both A and B point more or less saying the same. Yes or no? C point, sir, last year financials are not audited at all, sir. Then state that they are not audited. This statement does not reduce your responsibility to obtain sufficient appropriate evidence. Sir, last year financials were audited by some other auditor, sir. Then additional disclosure. What is additional disclosure? In other matter paragraph, mention that who audited, what opinion he gave, what reasons behind that opinion, date of the audit report. That's it. Easy or not? Suppose financial statements of prior period were audited. Who audited? Keep it aside. Me audited, this D point will not apply. If somebody else audited, A point and D point all will apply. Somebody audited. He gave a modified opinion. And reason, unresolved in the current year also. In current year it is material. Give modified opinion on current period. Or in current period they are not material. Still we give modified opinion on current period because current period figures are not comparable with prior period, because prior period item contains a material misstatement which is not comparable because it is not rectified. Sir, last year material mistake is there. But last year we have not given modified, sir. We give unmodified opinion. There what generally we do, subsequent even 560 procedure we will apply first. We will try to resolve it. If that is not possible, then in current period we will rectify as a prior period item as per applicable financial reporting framework. If not rectified, current year I will give qualified or adverse mark. Both are saying more or less same. See, sir, last year our financials were not audited at all. State that they were not audited. But this statement does not reduce your responsibility to obtain sufficient appropriate evidence regarding opening balances. One. Sir, last year financials were audited by predecessor auditor. State that they were audited by predecessor auditor in other matter paragraph. Mention what type of opinion he gave, reasons in case of modified opinion, date of the audit report. These are the disclosure requirements. This D point is what they asked in the exam. Clear? Confident? Sometimes one time they asked B, one time they asked A, one time they asked ABCD. What is ABCD? In case of corresponding figures approach, auditor's opinion generally will not refer to corresponding figures. However, there are circumstances where auditor's opinion refer about corresponding figures. What are the circumstances? 4 circumstances, 4 marks question. Able to understand. Same, how many ways a question can come? Imagine. MCQ might come on this again. So be careful. Read, understand thoroughly. I'm telling you, classes are most important. When you're listening to classes, it is most important because you have to score 30 out of 30 in MCQ. You have to score 30 out of 30. Why am I taking this much intensity? Because you have to score 30 on 30 in MCQ. Clear? Next. What is audit reporting for comparative information? More or less same. Okay. Here only one small, extra point will come. Conflict of opinion. There is one point. Difference of opinion with prior report issued by same auditor. See, last year financials I audited. That last year I have audited. Everywhere I gave unmodified opinion. Current year, company once again prepared 2 years figures. And they're asking me, sir, you give opinion on current period. No. Please once again do audit of last year and then give opinion on both the year figures. Now when I'm doing audit, prior period figures, I gave a modified opinion now. Last time I gave unmodified. It's possible. Last time in my sample, I did not find mistakes. In this year, when I'm selecting once again sample, I found mistakes. Possibility is there. Now, what should auditor? If auditor's opinion on prior period financial statements differ from the previously expressed opinion, in the current year, you are giving audit report, right? In that audit report, you are giving opinion on corresponding figures, right? You are giving some other opinion, right? Then why last time when you gave different opinion? Reasons. Disclose substantive reasons in other matter paragraph. This is audit word meaning. You remember in SAA 600, 706 other matter paragraph? Other matter paragraph is a paragraph in the auditor report that refers to a matter other than presented or disclosed in the financial statement that in auditor's judgment is important for users' understanding of the audit, auditor report, auditor responsibilities. Auditor responsibilities and audit report. We understood. What is audit at this point? Are you getting it? Very simple. Last time I audited last year balance sheet. I gave unqualified opinion. This time I audited current year balance sheet, current year number plus last year number also I audited. I'm giving opinion on both current year and last year number. This time on last year figure, I'm giving modified opinion. Whereas in the last year figure, I gave unqualified opinion. What should I do now? Difference of opinion is there. Are same auditor? Last time you said everything is good. Now you are saying that is wrong. Why? Reasons has to be mentioned in other matter paragraph. Are you clear? Only this is sufficient for MCQ. Able to understand? All of you? Now, sir, prior period financials were audited by predecessor auditors. Prior period financials were audited by predecessor. last year figures. This year, once again, I am doing audit of last year also, and I am giving opinion on last year also. Suppose no, if prior period financials were audited by predecessor auditor, include in other matter paragraph, prior period were audited by predecessor, what opinion he gave, date of the report, same. If material misstatement exists in prior period on which predecessor gave unmodified opinion, communicate with management and notify the predecessor auditor. And if prior period financials are amended, luckily predecessor auditor, no, sir, don't wait, sir, don't give current year audit report. Wait, I have still time limit. I will apply my 560 standard and give a new audit report, he said. Okay. And if prior period financials are amended and predecessor auditor issues a new report, the current auditor reports only on current period. Getting it? Prior period financials are not audited. Same. Include the statement in other matter paragraph. It does not reduce your responsibility regarding opening balance. Now, what is actually this G point is not that important, but I still covered briefly because this is simple. Have you understood this G point? Yes. So G point. Now, what is corresponding figure? What is comparative financial statements? We understood comparative information means what? Comparative information means what? Amounts and disclosures in the current year financial statements belonging to one or more prior periods. What is corresponding figures? Compare the corresponding figures. No, that is also comparative information only, where prior period amounts and disclosures which are presented as part of current period, which are presented as, actually you can write this word, integral, which are presented as integral part of current period financial statements, which are presented as integral part of current. Yes or no? We are equally giving importance to current last year figures also, correct? Yes or no? Now these figures, now you are giving last year figures, no, you should read them separately and take a decision, or you should read them along with current year figures and take a decision. Second option, along with. These figures, last year figures, have to be read only in relation to current year figures. And tell me, last year data we are giving, right? We should give detailed breakup also for last year in the notes to accounts. That level of breakup is generally depend upon current year breakup. Yes, current year, what level of detailedness you are giving data, that much breakup you should give last year also. For example, last year we have only two types of debtors, less than 6 months, more than 6 months, but less than 1 year. But this year we have more than 6 months, more than 1 year, more than 2 years, more than 3 years. So you mention more than. Last year you don't have that, or you may have it. Mention the details of last year also in disclosures. What is the level of detail of corresponding figures? With what detail? Should I just mention main number or sub numbers also? Detail should I mention? This is a question. The level of detail is dictated by the relevance to current period figures. How far last year figures are relevant from current year point of view? Accordingly, the detailed presentation will be given. Able to understand? Simple. Current year breakup you are giving a same breakup you should give for last year also. Simple logic. Over. Comparative. What is comparative financial statements? Definition. Comparative financial statements is also comparative information only, which include prior period amounts and disclosures for comparison with current period. If audited, the prior period information is referred in auditor's opinion. The level of information is comparable to that of comparative financial. I mean, the level of information is comparable to that of current period financial statements. Same, no, more or less. Just that this 1 point extra they give. If audited, opinion also contains comparative financial statements. Both you see, the starting word is what? Comparative information. Corresponding figures is a comparative information. Comparative financial statements is also comparative information. Both are comparative, belonging to prior period, which are given as part of the current year. Whereas in comparative, if at all they were audited, we will give opinion. In corresponding, that wordings is not there, because on corresponding we don't give any opinion. Easy or not? 710 standard is over. See, till date they never tested this G point, comparative. Why? Because this is not there in India. This comparative financial statements approach is not at all there anywhere. Getting in the entire globe, it is not there. It is only there in special purpose engagements. That time what to do, only 710 standard gives guidance. Are you clear? Confident everybody? Now what is the comparative information? Amounts and disclosures are one or more of the prior period included in financial statements as per applicable financial reporting framework. That's it. Objective, obtain sufficient appropriate evidence that comparative information is presented in accordance with applicable financial reporting framework. Report in line with auditor reporting responsibilities. What is audit reporting responsibility? Reporting for corresponding figures. What? Generally you don't report about corresponding figures, but in 4 circumstances you report. What are the circumstances we saw? Yes or no? Then what is the reporting for comparative what is the reporting for comparative financials? Audit opinion must refer to each period for which financials are presented, on which opinion will be expressed. Easy. Okay, you have to read the standard. G point you can ignore if you want to, not an issue. Okay, 99.99% I'm sure they won't test. Okay, so 710 is completed. Confident everybody? That's it. We'll take 5 minutes gap and then we'll go to 700 and finish 700 standard. Okay, that's it.